Hello everyone and welcome to our quarterfinal battle. We are the 2 seed. We are taking on the 3 seed Darude and the San Jose Panquakes, last season's champion. We have qualified for the playoffs, but our work has just begun. Now we are facing him at his peak. I mean, he basically had a couple weeks where he didn't have to worry about anything. Now he's ready. We have not faced him with our new Mons in Ferrothorn and Crocodile. His team has not changed, though, since week 2 when we did face him and get bodied. Now, he stalled us out last time with some baton pass into Zapdos toxic substitute shenanigans, so I do want to watch out for something like that happening again. But the changes I've made to my team in Crocodile and Ferrothorn make it so that the Zapdos he was running is not as viable anymore, because he has to have something to hit Ferrothorn, since I could easily bring that to wall the Zapdos he brought last time and the Scolipede and things like that. Now, you'll note that I'm not bringing Ferrothorn this week, but I will get into that in a second. First, make sure you check out Darude's side of the video. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring and how he's going to play these sets. Obviously, playoffs matter, but at the end of the day, it is a game of Pokemon, and I am, fingers crossed, going to be able to play it in my room on my 3DS. First time playing a playoff battle since that last time, so we don't have to talk about that too much. His team is Zapdos, Mega Medicham, Scolipede, Klefki, Palisand, Umbreon, DarudeLeafStorm, Kecleon, Simipour, Simisage, and Simisear, with Scolipede and the monkeys being Z users. Now, what do I first notice about his team? It's amazing, but it's also relatively fast. That is the first thing you're going to note. So I'm going to be trying to outspeed his base 112 and speed boost, along with all the base 101 monkeys, Mega Medicham base 100, etc. And even things like Klefki and Umbreon are fast for walls at 75 and 65. So, first thing we're going to do is bring Crocodile, which is coming this week. It obviously wasn't here last time. You never saw what I was going to bring against him with this Crocodile. Earthquake, Knockoff, Brick Break, and Stone Edge screens on the Klefki is scary enough, and the Umbreon, that I think Brick Break, especially with coverage as well, makes sense to bring this week. Scarfed myself into Brick Break on the Klefki or something as he switches into the Zapdos and then switching out. I don't see him going hard Zapdos on a Crocodile anyway, so pretty much anything he wants to switch in is not going to appreciate taking a hit regardless of what it is, and Brick Break gets rid of those screens. Intimidate this week with the Scarf, just because I think intimidating things like the baton passing Scolipede or the Mega Medicham can really help out my team a lot. And then otherwise, we're running just enough speed to outspeed his monkeys if they are Modest Nature Scarfed, or Modest Nature with the speed pass from Scolipede. This benefits us by also outspeeding a Modest Zapdos at +1, things like that. And we do have coverage for a majority of his team, and Knockoff is really helpful. I do have to make sure that I preserve this thing, though. I've noticed that it's incredibly valuable and has the tendency to die, and I want to avoid that. So next up, we have Primarina. Primarina is going to be Modest with Liquid Voice, because last time he was able to wall me with his Zapdos behind a substitute, so Hyper Voice with this water typing will allow me to go straight through that and not have to worry about it. Psychic is there for the Scolipede, Moonblast is other stab and hits the Mega Medicham, it hits the DarudeLeafStorm, it hits the Umbreon. It's a very good move for me to have this week. Otherwise, Ice Beam is there for the Zapdos, mostly. It just does a little bit more damage to that. And maybe the Palisand if I don't feel like clicking a Water-type move on it, or the Simisage. Although Simisage does not appreciate taking a Moonblast. I am going to be using the Kebia Berry this week, since the monkeys do get Gunk Shot, since DarudeLeafStorm gets Gunk Shot, since Palisand gets Sludge Bomb, since Scolipede's obviously a threat, Mega Medicham gets Poison Jab. So if he's going to go for something super effective on my Primarina, it's probably going to be a Poison-type move, and Kebia Berry will allow me to take any one and probably KO whatever attacks me with it back, which is really, really good. Next up, we have Rotom. Rotom is going to be Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch, Overheat, and Hex with Ghostium Z this week. What this allows me to do, the reason I'm running this is because last time I had Overheat, and I actually ran out of Overheats against him, trying to take out his team, and he PP stalled out my Overheats and then was able to win with Palisand later in the game, which I could have killed with something else. Now, Hex alone is pretty good against his team. Ghostium Z Hex allows me that one nuke that I need. If he does switch his Palisand into my Rotom and I go for an Overheat, Hex will finish off any Palisand at -2 from the range that Overheat puts it at. And if I go for a Volt Switch, Hex OHKOs a Palisand if I don't get the -2 from Overheat. So that's why I wanted to go Ghost DMZ. It also is just a general nuke against things like the Mega Medicham if I need it, against things like the DarudeLeafStorm if I need it, and it's, you know, it's not poisoned or burned or something. So that's what I'm going to be rocking this week. It's generally really strong. Overheat does a lot of damage to a huge portion of his team. Same as last time, this Rotom is putting in a lot of work, so Modest Nature Max Special Attack will allow it to do a ton of work, and the Palisand is his only immunity to Electric, so Volt Switch should be pretty free since Palisand can't come in on this Rotom. It's bait for it. Next up, we have our Miltank, Heal Bell, Milk Drink, Body Slam, and Stealth Rock. I had a long and arduous internal debate about Thick Fat versus Sap Sipper. Decided to go with Thick Fat since the Zapdos is likely going to be running Heat Wave, and that allows me to take that a lot better. And then he has to make predictions about Heat Wave versus Thunderbolt if I do decide to go into my Crocodile or something like that. Now, Heal Bell has proven itself to be invaluable to me this week in mocks and in just team building conceptually. I know his play style, and Heal Bell can heal everything. I can let anything get statused and then not have to worry about it immediately and deal with it later because Miltank can take a hit or two. Milk Drink is just there for longevity. Body Slam, spreading status, since I have Hex on the Rotom, is not a bad idea. Paralysis on the fast things like the monkeys, I'm totally okay with. And then Stealth Rocks are really good against Zapdos, against Scolipede. Obviously, he has a couple of really good defoggers in Zapdos and KreselleKey, but at the same time, I'd still rather get the rocks up, and they help my calcs a lot. So Miltank is going to be able to come in, get the rocks up, Heal Bell, Milk Drink, switch out, hopefully pivot like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. The Simmies don't really threaten it with a fighting type move or anything like that, so unless they can get themselves to +2 with a Nasty Plot, which is obviously a big threat. And that's where my Cofagrigus comes in. Cofagrigus is also going to be rocking Will-O-Wisp and Hex as well, just like the Rotom, but Trick Room and Haze will round out the moveset. Calm Nature with a lot of defense and special defense investment in order to maximize my ability to survive. Basically what this set is for is it makes it so that a +2 Nasty Plot boosted Hydro Pump from a, Simipour doesn't kill this Cofagrigus, and Psycho Cut from Mega Medicham is a 3-hit KO. Those are the two calcs I was looking at. Trick Room is amazing. This thing underspeeds his entire team, and Trick Room helps my entire team. Primarina underspeeds Umbreon. So Palisand's obviously a threat in Trick Room. DarudeLeafStorm becomes a threat in Trick Room, but if I can get rid of those or isolate them, this thing is amazing in Trick Room. Will-O-Wisp I can Trick Room on the Mega Medicham, I can Trick Room on the Scolipede, and then I can Willow them and not have to worry about it. He can switch out. His only immunity to Will-O-Wisp is Simisear, which is not really a switch into this because Hex is doing a lot even if he's not statused. And then Haze is there for things like the Simipour that's going for Nasty Plot, for the Scolipede that's Spade Passing or something like that. One of my favorite things is Trick Rooming. He on his Protect with his Scolipede, and then hazing as he then goes for a Baton Pass after I haze because I am now slower and in Trick Room. And he Baton Passes nothing into his next Pokemon, which now comes in against a Cofagrigus, which is relatively healthy and can't do anything to it. So that's really the plan. And then the final Pokemon is going to be my Xatu, who has proven itself to be qualified to come to a playoff battle. Heat Wave, Trick Room, Psychic, and Defog. I've been having a lot of back and forth on that Heat Wave. What move should I put there? Should I put Whirlwind, again, for getting rid of Stat Boost? Should I put U-Turn for Momentum? Or Heat Wave for the KreselleKey specifically? I decided I'm sticking with the Heat Wave for now, but that might change come game time. Who knows? It's going to be Bold Nature, so it's got a bit of defensive investment. It's not very specially offensive at all, which is why I don't think I really need the Heat Wave there. It doesn't really do much to KreselleKey. But then Trick Room is there as a secondary Trick Room setter. It's not as good as Cough, but it does do a lot there, and that's also why U-Turn might be helpful. And then Defog so that I can get rid of screens, and because his Mold Breaker DarudeLeafStorm can set up rocks, and I would love to get rid of those if he does set them up. This thing is a hard counter to things like KreselleKey that really just doesn't touch me. Umbreon, most sets of Umbreon can't do anything. I have min attack nature, so Foul Play is doing as little as possible. And Kecleon, which tries to set up rocks. Obviously, Kecleon has more coverage and stuff, so I have to watch out for that. But I can stop that from setting up Stealth Rocks, and Magic Bounce just makes him play a little bit differently. This also comes in on the Mega Medicham as long as he doesn't have Ice Punch and stops pretty much anything it wants to do, resists both stabs. And so it's pretty good against that. And since I have pivots into things for the Zapdos and stuff, that is pretty okay. But I might switch Heat Wave with U-Turn. I'm still debating that, and we are playing very, very shortly. So this is the matchup this week. This is the team we're bringing. It is the playoffs. It is win and move on, lose and go home. Our date is the winner of Techno or Ben. Whoever wins that match. On the other side, if we win this match and if we lose, we are giving Darude the date to face the winner of that match. So, hope you all enjoy this video. It may be a long one knowing Darude's playstyle. Just a heads up there. So, I hope you all are excited. I am nervous, but I'm excited, and I think it's going to be a blast. So, I will see you guys back here in a second with the battle. Let's go. Everyone, we're back. We're here. We're facing Darude. You can see on the screen what we're expecting him to bring. If you do skip the team builder portion of these videos, then I will say that my team is Krookodile, Koffagrigus, Rotom, Heat, Xatu, Primarina, and Miltank. If you want any more information about those sets, I encourage you guys to watch those team builder parts of the video. I do put some effort and time into those, so I encourage you guys to go check them out. Wow, interesting. But on his side, you see what we're expecting him to bring. He could bring anything, though, and I'm scared of literally everything on his team. So we're going to jump right into this. Good luck to Darude. Go check out his channel. And he brings the Simipour instead of the DarudeLeafStorm. So really, really scary team here. And that was the thing. He also has the KreselleKey, no Umbreon. Okay. So his team is horrifying and stally and scary. So, in fact, this is not quite... It's very close to exactly the same team he brought last time, just the Simipour instead of the Simisage. So I can keep that in mind. Now, leading with Rotom's good against everything except the Medicham and the Simipour. But if he does lead with the Simipour, I can switch out into my Prim, and if he leads with the Medicham, I can switch out into my Cough, and everything else my Rotom should be the best lead against. So I think that is the mon I'm going to go with this time. I do want to get my rocks up at some point with my Miltank, and I just need to make sure that I preserve some of these mons fairly well in the back. You can see I have my HP bar up already. Like, I am not going to mess around with this battle. We are not going to wait. What does the Medicham... How much does Medicham do to Rotom? I feel like it's a lot. Yeah, too much. Okay. So it's not worth staying in on the Mega Medicham, but I am going to lock in that my Rotom is going to be my lead here. I do want to watch out for putting the Simisage or Simipour into Torrent range if it's not running Gluttony, because it can still have a Z move as well as the Scolipede. Okay, so we're nervous, but we're in this, and we are going to make this happen, Cap'n. So good luck to my opponent, and let's see. So Rotom is going to be our lead here. It is a pretty safe lead against the majority of his team. I could see Zapdos leading, I could see Scolipede leading, and there's the Palisand, which that makes me kind of happy. Not gonna lie. I'm gonna go for... I know that I don't love doing this because he could switch out, but he's probably gonna want to set up his Stealth Rocks, and I am gonna go for a Z Hex first turn, and assuming he doesn't predict Z Hex, then he should be able to take any one hit, and he'll stay in. But otherwise, even if he switches out, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Low-key me, is that the Simipour? Okay, that's fine. Simipour is going to take a lot of damage from this, and that's damage I love having on it. It actually just about dies. It's not a Oko, but it's very close. And so he does save the Palisand, which is a little unfortunate, but this thing is now pretty much neutralized in terms of a threat. And that's really, really good. So that's actually not as much damage as I was expecting. So possibly... So is he just, like, HP invested? Is he... Let's see. So HP invested, that's not going to take that little damage. So he's probably Assault Vested. Yeah, that's Assault Vest, but still, like, super offensively oriented. So let's see. If he's got Scald, and he's got max special attack, but I'm assuming he's not Modest. I'm not letting my Rotom take that damage. There's no reason. My Primarina is pretty safe here, and my Miltank is very safe here. One of the two is fine by me, either one. I probably would rather go into my... I'll go Miltank here. Just that way it lets me set up the Stealth Rocks. If he does go for a Nasty Plot, I can take a hit from this thing. Not as well as I'd love to take a hit from this thing. But I'm actually, like, sort of okay with the situation that just occurred there. So we are going to guess that he's Assault Vested. And let's see, so if he's max special attack, I would assume he's not Modest Nature, but let's say he gets to +2. +2 Scald's doing 70%, +2 Hydro Pump is doing... +2 Hydro Pump has a chance to Oko, but I mean, it's a low chance, so I am going to go into my Miltank here, and if he just goes straight for a knockoff, okay, so that's going to do very, very little, and that's good information, and now it gives me a chance to put up rocks if I want to, which I think I do. I also kind of want to just go for a Body Slam and hit something on the switch-in, but he could go into just Palisand, and I think Stealth Rocks is just better in general. And the next time he goes into Palisand, I can try to burn it later on. But the next time he goes into Palisand, I think my switch is either going into Xatu or it's going into Crook, which can both pretty well handle the Palisand, and then Crook can knock off, and Xatu can pretty freely Psychic in this game without the Umbreon there. He has no resistances except Klefki, and Klefki does not want to switch into a Xatu, let's be honest. So, that's fine by me. It shows me the knockoff, so it's supportive, which is interesting. We'll get rocks up here. He's going to go for the Scald. And that does a hefty chunk. No burn. Doesn't super matter at this moment in time. Since he's not gaining anything out of this, I can just go for a Milk Drink here. If he does go for a Nasty Plot, it is what it is. But I'm going to go for a Milk Drink. I don't really care if I get burned so much because I do have the Heal Bell for whenever I want it, whenever I'm healthy again. And we can just kind of keep on this train with the Miltank for the moment. There's nothing I would love to switch into a Scald. Obviously, Primarina doesn't really care so much. And if I get the Milk Drink off, and he does get like a burn or something, I might just go for... I might just go into Prim at that point. It does get the burn, so yeah, the Milk Drink's going to do... it's going to heal me more than he's doing, but not enough that I can ever get a Milk Drink off on this thing. So being this healthy, that's good. I'm okay with that health for my Miltank. It can take hits, and now I can go out into the Primarina. And if he does predict that, that's okay. It isn't the end of the world if he does go for a knockoff right here. But I can just go out into the Prim and let this Miltank be relatively healthy, all things considered, since I don't have the leftovers anymore. Definitely want to keep it around 50%. There's the Scald, and we're going to see, hopefully, no burn here. So no burn on this one either, so that's good. He can have the Energy Ball, he can have Grassy MZ, but I don't necessarily think he can because he took so little damage from the Rotom, and that's where I'm kind of stuck on right now. But if he has like Energy Ball without Grassy MZ, he's not killing. Even with Grassy MZ, he's doing a hefty chunk. Moonblast should kill from here. Klefki can come in on that. It is you know, a decent switch in. So is Scolipede. But at the same time, rocks are up. So there's the Klefki. And Klefki can go for a whatchamacallit? Defog here. We get the special attack drop, which is pretty cool. So Klefki could defog. I can go into my Miltank if I want, but I think my best play is to go out into my Xatu, which just basically walls a Klefki. If he does start setting up Calm Minds, then my goal is to go. Then I have to go into Crook. But I did get a special attack drop, which is nice. So if he defogs, he does lose the evasiveness, which is nifty. We're okay with that. We're okay with that. And I know he gets rid of the Stealth Rocks, which is obviously not my favorite thing in the world. But I am just going to click Heat Wave at this point and see what he wants to do. He can't set up spikes. He can't, you know... He could set up like a light screen if he wants. He's going to switch out. What do you go into here? Goes out into Imagine Dragons. That is the Zapdos. Okay, and it's got pressure, not static, so we do know that for sure. And we do about 20%. He's got leftovers. Okay. So at this point, I have to switch out. He could substitute. I've seen this. If he's running the same Zapdos without Heat Wave, I'm going to be shocked. Toxic Stall Zapdos will be annoying to deal with, but Rotom can come in on this thing and potentially just click Volt Switch. I could go out into my Crocodile, but I think Rotom is a better just hard switch into this. If he Volt Switches, that's fine. I need information about this Zapdos. And we saw that Heat Wave did about 15%. He does substitute. So if he's running the same exact set, that is what it is in some level. I have answers, and my Miltank's already burned, which is actually better, in my opinion, than being toxic. So I could go for an Overheat and scout if I outspeed, and if I do, then I can go for a Will-O-Wisp on this thing. Since Hex is not going to break the substitute without him being statused. Volt Switch will, and then I can go into Miltank, Overheat will, and then I can stay in and go for a Will-O-Wisp. Or I can just Volt Switch, Scout. He's got Palisand still. So I think I'm going to click Overheat here. There's the Roost. So he does outspeed, so he does have a little bit of speed investment. Which is bad, actually. That's not great. But it is what it is. So Overheat's going to come out here, and it's going to break the substitute. Obviously, there's no way the substitute's going to survive that. But now that I'm at -2, Overheat still breaks the substitute if he wants to go for it, but Volt Switch doesn't. But I'm still going to click Volt Switch here. There's a sub. Yeah, Volt Switch not going to break that, but we are going to be able to go out into the... I'm curious if he's got Toxic or if he's got Thunderbolt, or if that's like if he's running the same set as last time. And the reason that I would wonder if he's running the same set as last time is that I can go out into my Cophagorigus, which can click Trick Room and then Hex, but I don't want to do that while he's got a sub up. So I can go out into my Crocodile, which would then have to take a Toxic, but that's okay. And so yeah, it has to take a Toxic, but because we know that he's got some speed investment, it means he's not quite as bulky, potentially. And Knockoff should break a sub as long as he has an item. And then once the item is gone, which is the plan, is to get rid of that. Then, so what move are you going for at this point? Toxic? I feel like it has to be Toxic. Yeah, there's a Toxic. Okay, so sub Roost Toxic, so we know that that's the play, and I do have the Heal Bell for later, so I'm not super worried. I would love to get rid of these leftovers. He may switch out at this point. It's either switching out or roosting, but roosting means you lose your leftovers, and I'm okay with that. And again, Crocodile's health is important, but it's in a point... It's sort of a thing where Crocodile needs to be alive, not healthy. You know, it doesn't take many hits regardless. And we're going to get a good scout of how much damage this does. The Heat Wave from the Xatu is not going to do a lot no matter what. And because it didn't do a lot, you don't get a lot of information about the roll that it gets. We saw it do somewhere between 15 and 20% to the Zapdos, which is decently specially bulky, which means if it's more specially bulky, it's not as physically bulky. That means that the knockoff's going to do a lot. He probably knows that I'm Scarfed, but he really has no great switch into this. Mega Medicham hasn't Mega Evolved yet, and even if he brings that in, then it takes 2 knockoffs, and that's not ideal. So God's going to come out. That's the Palisand. Must be Colbur. Yeah, there's the Colbur. So we know that. Colbur Berry. And we're going to take a little bit more Toxic. Now Crocodile to a Palisand with no item. Does about 50% to 60% with a knockoff if he's max HP. And based on that damage, with the Colbur Berry, 37 to 45. What are we looking at? That's 25, 35. So he's got some defensive investment. So yeah, there's no reason to stay in on this thing. I can go into Miltank. I can go into Xatu. I feel like Xatu's probably my best bet here, although taking a Shadow Ball is not really on the agenda for the day. It doesn't seem to be a good plan, if we're being perfectly frank about it. It's unlikely that he's running max special attack Modest, but if he is, that's a big problem. Which means that going into Miltank is a better play than going into Xatu. And then I can go for the Heal Bell at that point, and the Stealth Rocks again. Try to keep those on his side of the field. But Zatsu can get rid of the rocks. I'm going to go... I don't think he Shadow Balls first turn. But then what does Zatsu do back? I mean, that's the thing, is like, what does Zatsu do to this thing? It just dies. Whereas Miltank at least doesn't just straight die. And it forces him to defog. So we're going to go to the Miltank. And we'll see what he goes for. If he goes for the Shadow Ball predicting the Zatsu, then that's fine. If he goes for the Stealth Rock, then, you know, I should have gone to Zatsu, but what would Zatsu then do, you know? So now I just set up my rocks. I just set up my rocks here. See what he does. I outspeed, so I don't think he's going to kill me with anything, for being frank about it. Palisand. Earth Power is doing 40%. If he's max special attack modest. So he's going to switch out. He's going to go out into... Is that Scolipede? That's Scolipede. Okay. So this thing's probably going to protect first turn. I can just go straight into my Koffagrigus here. Or I can Heal Bell. Or I can Milk Drink. What he wants to do is go out into his Baton Pass into his Zapdos. I know that for a fact. I've seen him do it. So if I go out into my Cough here, Miltank's still fine to take some hits. That's not a big deal. Milk Drink would obviously be helpful, and I think he's going to predict potentially me the Milk Drink, and potentially go for a Poison Jab or something. So I'm going to switch out into Cough, and if he goes for a Poison Jab, he loses Speed Boost, which is okay. If he goes for Protect, then that's fine too. And Superpower is... Wow, okay, so he's offensive. So we are going to get a little bit Leftovers Recovery. He's going to get his Speed Boost, and this is where I'm going to Trick Room 100% of the time. I outslow everything on his team, especially if he Baton Passes. And there's the Protect to get a second Speed Boost, and we are going to get a Trick Room off, and then we are going to click Will-O-Wisp on the following turn, no matter what. Cripple the Scolipede, cripple the Zapdos a little bit more, make it so that Hex can actually break substitutes, which would be wonderful. Cripple the Palisand to the point where Hex kills it. So Trick Room's up for 4 more turns. I need to be paying some attention to that. And this is the situation I sort of wanted to be in. Koffagrigus with Trick Room can do a lot against his team. And we are going to get a Will-O-Wisp off. So he's probably going to Baton Pass. But even if he does Baton Pass here, then he goes for the Poison Jab. So he's actually going to lose. Okay. Critical hit and the Poison. Crit, Poison. Let's keep track of the number of things that are happening to me, because this is how my life goes. Oh, this is not how I wanted the battle. I mean, I do want the battle to go such that I can, win. But I don't like being poisoned. Cough being healthy is important to me. He's at +2 speed, but he's burned, and he has Mummy. So one option is going out into Primarina here, with some turns of Trick Room left. With Stealth Rocks up as well, Prim can really put in a lot of pressure. Although Palisand pressures Prim right back. I could just Hex here, now that he's burned. And then stay in basically until, since the poison isn't toxic, it's not getting worse. The problem is there's no real way for me to heal my Cough as it gets weakened. But I think I am going to Hex once. And he's going to just hard switch. What are you going to go into here? He's going to go into KreselleKey here, which is going to take a Hex and some Stealth Rocks damage. And yes, it can defog before I do anything else, but it's losing even more health than I am. So I have at least the leftovers to offset things. I can burn this as well. I can certainly burn this as well. I could also just go back out into my Miltank here, just to keep setting rocks up against him. I think I'm going to click Willow here. I've got very little to lose. If he does go for a Calm Mind, I have Haze. That poison jab poison sucks. I'm not going to lie. I do have the heal bell on Miltank, and I should use it as soon as possible to keep my cough healthier. And so what I might do is get the Miltank back in here, milk drink, heal bell, you know, fix the problems that are happening. As I knew there was going to be a lot of status this game. I was very well aware of the fact that there was going to be a lot of status this game. And so that is part of my plan, is to obviously prevent that status from crippling my entire team for the long run. The Trick Room is still active for another 2 turns, so we do have that to keep in mind. And he's going to hard switch out, stalling out Trick Room, goes out into Zapdos. Please burn this. Oh, please burn this. Oh, please burn this. Oh my god, please burn this. Thank goodness. Okay, so we do still have 1 turn of Trick Room left. And Cofagrigus to a Zapdos. With Burn is definitely breaking any substitute. And yes, we are taking some poison. And yes, he is taking some burn, which is obviously better for him. This is the last turn of Trick Room, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so I could go out into my Crocodile here on this last turn of Trick Room. If he decides to set up a substitute, well, fine. I just click Knock Off again as he roosts. He's probably going to roost either way. And so I could go out into Miltank and... Can Miltank take a hit from a Zapdos? Thunderbolt's doing a little bit too much damage, potentially. So I think what I'm going to do is stay in and click Hex. What this will allow me to do, since we know Rotom does not outspeed, is set up another Trick Room now, as he's probably going to roost again. And again, I don't like the chip damage that I'm taking here, but we will manage it. Set up another Trick Room, and then go out into Rotom, and be able to Hex him a little bit instead of overheating. So the Twisted Dimensions return to normal. I could also just go hard Crook right now, which is super tempting. He could sub, but I don't... Yeah, let's go hard Crook. Let's go into Crocodile. If he switches first. We've seen everything except his offensive move, which is probably Thunderbolt. And we have, again, if Klefki comes back in, then I go into Miltank and I go for a Heal Bell. And that's, I think, the best play at that point, because I need to get rid of these statuses. And Crocodile's going to take a little bit of damage from Stealth Rocks, from Toxic, whatever. And if he does go for a substitute, then yes, I have to break it, and then yes, I have to go for another knockoff afterwards, as he's probably going to roost off any damage that he has, which is what it is to some degree. I can't do anything other than click the knockoff here. There's no reason to. Knockoff's going to break this substitute. He's going to get healthy again. And we are going to take a second turn of toxic damage on whatever he switches in against my knockoff. But the rocks are still up. Klefki is wearing down, and we are still able to function here. So we are going to break the substitute. He's just going to go for another substitute here. Okay, so he's going to try to toxic stall out my Crocodile. And at that point, I think I have to switch out. But if he goes for the Roost... So the thing is, like, again, like I said, I don't think HP matters super much on Crocodile. Just, it has to be alive and theoretically be in range to take one Fake Out from a Mega Metacham. And Fake Out's doing like 20% when it's intimidated. So we can definitely stay in and go for another knockoff. He's got a Roost here. He can't go for another sub. But I don't want him to get this Roost off for free. So we are going to knock off again. And, you know, getting rid of the substitute here is really big. Doesn't allow him to set up another one. And there's the Roost. And now he has to switch out or he has to lose leftovers. And I'm going to stay in and I'm going to go for another knockoff here. Since something's probably going to die to that. That or one more. He could go for another Roost. But what I want to prevent is for him to keep having these leftovers to sub up again. So We are going to need to switch out after one more turn of Toxic no matter what, and switching out now actually is probably better, which is really unfortunate that he's able to do that. I could go into Rotom here, and then pivot from Rotom into my Miltank, and then go for a Heal Bell. But I think... Do I need Krookodile for the rest of this match? I don't desperately need it. So I am going to go for another knockoff here. As he's probably going to switch out. I don't think he wants to lose his leftovers right now. And I do think Krookodile... I mean, it will survive another turn of Toxic, but I just have to make sure it's not going to take a Fake Out from a Medicham. That's really the one thing that has priority right now in his team. That scares me. And obviously Scolipede scares me too, but not as much because of the Cofagrigus that can just wall it super hard no matter what. We know he has Superpower, we know he has Poison Jab, and then Cofagrigus can come in on either of those attacks just fine. So getting the rocks away will be really nice once his Zapdos is chipped a little bit more. So he's going to send out his Palisand. This should die to this knockoff, and if not, I'm switching out regardless of what happens. It doesn't die. Oh, this is so frustrating. He's going to shore up, isn't he? I can't stay in. I can't let this thing go down right now. It's too good against the Zapdos. And I have the ability to go into Miltank right now and get rid of the Toxic from it, which takes it off of its timer. So took way too much damage there, to be honest. Getting things chipped, but that's okay. Chip damage is chip damage. And there's the shore up. So yeah, he was gonna scout that out either way, and see if I was gonna let my Krookodile trade for his Palisand, which I obviously wasn't gonna do at this point. And I am gonna go for my own Milk Drink, followed by a Heal Bell on the following turn, since I'll be able to take a hit from anything except the Medicham, which that would be incredibly aggressive if you went Medicham here. That would just be absolutely incredibly aggressive, but I do still have my Cofagrigus, which can still take a hit from the Medicham if it has to. It's still healthy enough to do so. And I do still have my Krookodile to Intimidate if I want to. So we're going to Milk Drink. He's going to stay in. What is he going to go for is a great question. I do not know the answer to. It might be another Shore Up, just to be very healthy again. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, so second Shore Up. But that's fine. We are going to be able to get a Heal Bell off for the rest of my party and be in pretty good shape at that point to not be statused everywhere. And my Miltank is healthy enough at that point to keep it on. So out comes the KreselleKey, which is fine, and we are going to reveal that we have Heal Bell, and so I don't know what KreselleKey is going to do right now. I really don't know what KreselleKey is going to do right now. It could Defog. I don't think it gets any healing move or anything like that. It could try to status me. It could go for like a Thunder Wave or a Toxic or something. Could Spikes. And so as a result of it being able to Spikes, I think my play is just going into my Xatu at this point, and I can click Defog and get rid of these rocks that are chipping away at my team just as much as they're chipping away at his. And so he's going to double into Zapdos, into the Monkey. Doubles into the Monkey. Okay. I'm not sure whether you're baiting in my Xatu or what you're trying to do right there, but you doubled into your Monkey. Now this thing, I don't want Xatu dying. I don't want Xatu dying. And there's no reason to stay in on this, because Ice Beam, like, invested Ice Beam does not kill, actually. But he's Assault Vested. And Psychic is a roll. And I don't love that it's a roll. So I'm just going to go out into... I could just go into Prim here. I could just go out into my Miltank here. Both of them seem fine. Although he could just Scald. So Prim is definitely a safer switch. If he knockoffs, then he just gets rid of my Kebia Berry, but that's really not that useful anymore in this match because Scolipede's already been neutralized. So Primarine is going to come out here. And he's going to go for the Scald. Please don't burn me. Please don't burn me. Okay, no burn. It's another free Moonblast. Scolipede is chipped a little bit down from last time. The rocks are still up on his side of the field. Klefki's in a range where it doesn't want to take 2. So I think free Moonblast is free Moonblast, and I'm not going to complain about it. So there's the switch. He's going to switch out this. He's going to go out into Klefki. I don't think this thing's going to take this Moonblast. I'm not going to lie. And let's see. So Moonblast comes out. He does take 1. Okay, and he has a berry. Okay, so it's the same Iapapa berry as last time. Now, what are you going to do to me now? Paralyze me? Because Hyper Voice can take you out from there. And I think that is going to be my best play. I'm not sure. You might defog. Recycles his berry. Okay. That's fine. I am going to go for the Hyper Voice here. And put him back to where his berry activates again. So we're forced into this little game. But I can Moonblast at this point. And that won't activate his berry from here. And then Hyper Voice from there. So I'm going to Moonblast. There's some spikes coming down on my side of the field. And I do have defog on my whatchamacallit. So we're going to Moonblast. And I definitely want to bring in Xatu. So yeah, we're going to get him down to where he's not going to survive another thing. And then I can Hyper Voice again. And I think that is going to be my best play. And then I've got it. I mean, Xatu has to come in and defog at some point. He's committing to wanting the hazards up. And that's fine. Xatu can come in on Palisand because it outspeeds. It can come in if the whatchamacallit's up, the Trick Room's up. So Primarina kills Klefki with Hyper Voice. What do you do? Are you just gonna Poison Jab? You don't know my item yet. I mean, you could Fake Out. Then Headbutt also would kill me. Poison Jab with the Kebia Berry. Still kills me from this range, unfortunately. Cough takes way too much if it switches in right here. So I think... Do I let Prim go down? No. Prim walls Simipour. Although it's getting chipped. Something has to die. I know something has to die right here. It's just a matter of what it is. I'm going to stay in Moonblast. I'm going to stay in Moonblast. If he goes for the Poison Jab, and he's not like max attack for some reason, Psycho Cut. It's a good play. Okay, so Crocodile can't come in here. I think what I'm going to do is go into Xatu, and then hard switch into Cough to try to bait out an Ice Punch. Because... So he's going to switch out. Man, I wish I'd defogged right there. Man, I wish I'd defogged right there. Okay. That's okay. I can't take any damage from this. I really can't. I feel like Rotom has to come in here. Or Miltank, but probably Rotom. Yeah, I'm gonna go Rotom. He's gonna Roost. So Mega Medi. How am I gonna take that down? I need to get Trick Room up. Discharge. Okay, so it's not Thunderbolt's Discharge, but that's still a threat. Now he's in range to die from an Overheat, potentially, but it's not something I want to try to... I mean, like, I'm not sure of that. Depends on how much special defense he's running. If he's running, like, max special defense, then he survives, and we saw that the Heat Wave did less than I wanted it to from the Xatu. Now Palossand's still alive, but is at full health. So I can just Hex. I'm just gonna Hex here. He's gonna switch out. What is he gonna go into here? Palossand. Okay. So Hex is gonna come out. He's not burned, unfortunately. And it's almost a 2-hit KO. It's the point where I believe an Overheat would KO the Palossand from here. So I am gonna go for it. Which does allow him a free switch into, oh, say, the Medicham. Get a kill. I need to defog. The monkey. The monkey comes out. Rotom's too important. My Prim's dead. So Miltank's the only thing that can come in right here. So Palossand's dead. Mega Medicham kills Xatu with... not Xatu. Whatchamacallit? Primarina with Psycho Cut. Rotom Heat kills Palossand with Overheat. Simipour kills Miltank with Scald. Crocodile can't come in. I think he's just won the game, to be honest. My only chance is getting up a Trick Room here, which means that Cough has to take this hit, and I don't know if it can. That's way too low. It's not going to take this hit. So I think he's just won the game. I don't see a way out of this. There's a Scald. That's going to take out my Cofagrigus. And once Cough goes down, that's game. I have nothing for his Medicham. So Simipour kills Cofagrigus with Scald. If I had defogged earlier... when he switched out his Medicham, or hard switched into my Xatu on his Klefki, which I knew was my play every time, and I don't know why I didn't do it, then who knows. But there's a Scald. We're not going to take that. Nope. So Simipour is going to sweep me. I'm going to get swept by a Simipour in the playoffs. Kills Xatu with Scald. I get swept by a Simipour in playoffs. And this thing's gonna die to spikes. And Rotom Heat is gonna go down. Okay. So where did I go wrong? And this is what I need to do all the time, is just analyze, like, what did I do right, what did I do wrong, those kind of things. I think the first thing I did wrong was not stick to my plan, right? So, my plan was Xatu, Walls, Klefki. Xatu, Walls, Klefki. I knew that. I also should have switched into it on the Palossand when he set up rocks. I knew he was going to do that. So I made the right calls, but I didn't make the right plays. And this is where I fall short in every single league I'm in. and I know it. Like, I know that's what my shortcoming is that I know what I need to do to win the game, but I don't act on it. And I've said this before, and it's really frustrating to be me sometimes because, like, I will look back and I know what I did wrong, you know? And I see the plays, and I'm like, I said it in my commentary. You can hear me say it in my commentary. I'm like, I should have done that. But good luck to Darude in the rest of the playoffs. Good luck to everybody who's still in. And whoever wins the IBL Season 5, congratulations whenever that, in a couple weeks when that all resolves itself. That's great prep on his part, Assault Vested Monkey. If he didn't have an Assault Vest and my Z-Hex had killed that thing first turn, who knows how this game would have gone. But thank you all so much for watching. I will catch you guys next time when I am back again with the ICBA playoffs that we are still alive in, so can't like get down or anything because we do still have a playoffs to play in. We are the 2 seed in that one as well, and playing Matt O'Shea and the Montreal Milotics, who already beat us, so not in the playoffs, in the regular season. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys next time with the ICBA battle, and hopefully we can make a little bit of a run going down that playoff path. And otherwise, I will catch you guys in future leagues. The PCL is coming up. The TBL is coming up. So it's not like this is the end of the road for the New York Empoleon. We've got plenty of content coming your way. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everybody.